Hello, I want to talk to you about something today that I haven't really played with before, and yesterday I got the opportunity to spend the day with the UK importer and distributor of this, and this is the Insta360 Pro camera. This is an 8K 360 camera that is all integrated, it's built in. It's not separate cameras which go into a rig, a frame or anything where you need to stitch it in post. It's a camera that does it for you. And one of the big features of this camera is its simplicity. Now, I didn't film my talk with RCG, the UK importer and distributor, for this camera yesterday because I felt I was going to ask a lot of questions which were maybe nonsensical, or questions that would come from someone who's very new to this, and I am very new to this. The extent of my experience with 360 is playing with things like the Ricoh Theta, which is a consumer 360 camera. The Insta360 Pro, it just takes this to a complete new level. This camera really is meant to challenge cameras, more expensive cameras, like the Nokia Ozo, which is a £30,000 camera. This camera is a tenth of the price, it's £3,000. And having a look at video clips on YouTube, which I realise isn't the best medium for judging quality, you know, I don't know if there's a £27,000 difference between the two. So I'm going to quickly answer some questions. Now, what I will say is if you have any questions yourself, queries, comments or otherwise, or if you'd like to see more about this camera, please ask below in the comments. Now, the importers have kindly offered to let me borrow all these cameras for a few days, and I'm going to get a chance to go a lot more in depth with it and actually film some footage which I'll post up on YouTube for you guys to look at. But first of all, I wanted to talk about this camera and just explain a bit about it, some of the questions that I had to ask. So, first of all, what is it? It's a 360 camera. It looks like a small football. It's made of metal. It's very well constructed. You can feel the quality. It's reassuringly heavy. When you pick a piece of kit up that you know is well made, you have confidence in it. And that's what I did. I had confidence in this camera, just feeling it. You've got one very small display and you've got a number of soft touch buttons there which control that display, but the real power, the real beauty is controlling it through the app, which is available for iOS devices from the App Store right now. There is an Android app, but I believe when this video was made it's still in beta. I don't have an Android phone, so I used my Apple phone and my iPhone, and I downloaded the iOS app, and it was very easy, very intuitive and very quick to set up. As I've said, this thing is simple. You know, 360 doesn't need to be as challenging as it was maybe a couple of years ago. This camera seems to do a lot of the work for you. And the biggest challenge with 360 is stitching. If you're using a number of cameras, is then stitching all those different angles together. That's something that Insta360 Pro does for you. This is a very clever camera. If you're shooting in 4K, it will stitch real time all those cameras together to create your final video file, which you can then download and upload to something like YouTube in 360. Now, 360, if you're not familiar, on YouTube is the video where you see in the top right hand corner, is that right? I think it is. The top right hand corner, it looks like a little compass. You can then move your mouse and then you can scrub through the picture. So you can be looking ahead, you can be looking above, down below, to the sides and behind. You can literally scrub around the picture and see what's happening. 360 is an emerging technology, and I think it has got a lot more application for the internet. I think a lot more video is going on the internet, and 360 is very easy to watch on the internet because you can scrub it around. Likewise on mobile phones with 360, you can view it, and then as you move the phone around, your video, your angle of view, what you're looking at changes as well. That's clever. In your living room, you know, that's going to be difficult without going the route of 360 goggles. So the headset goggles that you can wear, things like Google Cardboard where you can drop your phone into, will also display 360 video. Now, the challenge for this is sitting in your living room and literally just, you know, spinning around 360 to see what's going on behind you. I don't think I'd like to be doing that for 2 hours. You know, watching a film, that's going to get old. A bit like you know, the sort of 3D technology that you know, we were all being pushed towards 3D TVs a few years ago. Anyway, but I think 360 has got legs. It's going to stay around a lot longer. So let's tell you a bit about the camera. So it runs off of an internal battery, spare batteries, £107 each, and they last for about an hour each. If you're live streaming, the battery will get used up a lot faster, but it's got a 12-volt input on, looks like a 2.5mm, you know, jack plug. You could modify a cable so that you can run that off of V-locks and get a much longer runtime if you wanted to do so. It uses SD cards, but it also has got a USB socket, and the beauty in that is that you can use an external USB drive, like an SSD drive, plug it in, you know, gaffer tape it to the tripod leg, keep it out of sight, whatever, and then you can record a lot longer onto that drive. The other thing that this camera will do as well is it will real-time live stream 360 content, and we set that up as well through the app on an iPhone. Now this is really easy to do. To set a stream up from this camera, you've got the option of where to stream, and we chose to stream to YouTube. Now, with YouTube streaming, with 360, there's one thing you've got to be really aware of, and this is something I wasn't aware of, and for quite some time I was looking through the settings on YouTube and trying to work out why my stream wasn't working. And that is, if you want to go 360, do not press stream now, it won't work. You have got to set up an event, you've got to click on custom settings, then in the advanced settings, you've got to click the little box that says 360 video. It's as simple as that. 360 as well, you won't be able to embed that onto your website unless you've got an AdSense account, a Google AdSense account linked to your YouTube account, and that takes about 3 days to set up. So if you want to do an embedded 360 live stream with this camera, with any 360 camera, bear that in mind first. Set up an AdSense account, link it to your Google and to your YouTube account, but allow 3 days, because that's typically what Google say they'll take to set that up. So what kind of applications have you got for 360? It's anything where you want your audience to be immersed in what's happening behind, around, behind, above, everywhere, every angle, every possible angle. And this camera, as I've said for the third time, it really is simplicity itself to achieve this. It has got a lot of nice features. So one of the questions I had was audio and workflow. I'm going to touch upon audio first, and that is this camera has got a number of microphones built into it as well. So you've got the lenses which go around it, but also you've got microphones go around it. So if you imagine this is a 360 video, and the 360 camera is just there where I'm talking to now, and then someone else is behind, what would be happening now is you're looking at me, so you're hearing my audio. You're going to hear the audio behind the camera as well, but it's not going to be as high, it won't be as loud. But if you scrub round, then the audio is going to fade to the noise behind, the person behind, and my audio, me talking now, will then get quieter. So it's not just about video, it's about audio as well. So that's something quite important. It has got an audio input jack as well, but as an all-in-one solution, it's very tidy. My main question was about workflow. You know, how do you edit this? What do you do with the files? So the way that it works, if you're shooting 4K, you're going to get a real-time stitched file. An important note to do first of all is to calibrate the camera. So once you get it into location where you want it to actually film, calibrate it, and that will then make sure that the cameras are seamlessly joined together. If you don't calibrate it, you will notice where the stitches are. And that's something which, you know, when I first started playing with it, I set up the stream, you know, I set the camera up and I thought, well, you know, this isn't so good. But once you've got that calibrated, it looks absolutely fabulous. So if you're shooting 4K, it stitches it, so you can take the card out and you've got your 4K file. If you're recording 8K, what it will give you a number of separate files. Then what you need to do is download the Insta360 program onto your computer and then stitch those 8K files together, and that will give you your finished 360 file. But don't forget, on that memory card you're going to have your separate camera views, and you're also going to have your main stitched 4K file that you've been recording anyway. You've got a couple of different modes which you can access through the app, so you can choose servers. Going back to YouTube for a second, the way that we stream to YouTube is when you set up, YouTube gives you a thing which is a key. You also get an RTMP server, so all you need to do is go into the Insta360 app, type in the RTMP server, type in your key. The server address is pretty much the same. It doesn't give the option of a backup server, which YouTube does offer you for live events. You just put one server in only in the key. But then it's very easy. You just hit go live on your app, and then if you're watching your dashboard on YouTube, what you'll see is after a few seconds, by the time it takes to travel, you know, from the camera via the internet, and that's either Ethernet or Wi-Fi on this camera, to the YouTube server, you'll see that your stream is now being received. You'll see the status of your stream. You can set a lot more things up, like the data rate, the quality at both ends of the stream, so that YouTube knows how to handle it and the camera knows what it should be putting out. But in a very, you know, quick and sort of dirty way, when we tested it yesterday, it was a very basic setup, and it worked. It just worked straight away. So it was a very impressive piece of kit, I've got to say. I'm looking forward to getting hands-on with one of these for a bit longer, and what I'll be doing is I'll be taking it outside, setting it up, and actually capturing some 360 content on it as well. So we're going to go back a step, and I'm telling you about workflow. So as I said, stitching in camera, or you can stitch the files together. Once you've got your 8K files stitched together, what you can do is you can export those out of the Insta app. Once you've exported those out of the Insta app, you can then take those into something like Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere, and then you can edit them so they'll be in your timeline, and it's a simple case of going through it and saying, you know, maybe cut here, you've moved to 360 camera, different angle, you know, and so on, so that you're creating a final sort of bit of content. Export from there as a quick time, or just hit straight up to YouTube. As long as YouTube is being told it's 360, there you go, you've got a 360 video on YouTube for people to watch. I need to spend a lot more time with the camera. As I said, I'm completely new to 360 cameras, but I was completely blown away by just the simplicity of how this camera functions. So that's it, in a nutshell, the Insta360 Pro. Questions, comments, otherwise, please leave below, and as I say, I'm going to get one of these to have a bit more fun with, a bit more of a play with, and actually go and record some content, and obviously I'm going to learn a lot more of it when I'm using it more and getting hands-on. So questions, comments below. See you next time.